I faked a business trip and caught my husband with another woman in my house. Don't worry, I won't yell. I already filed for divorce, I told him as he watched the footage in shock. He thought he was smart, but he forgot who he was married to. I planned everything while he was busy cheating. You know that gut feeling you get when something's wrong, but you can't explain it? Like when the energy in your house just shifts. It's quiet, but not the peaceful kind. It's calculated. That's what it's been like with my husband lately. We've been together 8 years. Married for 5. And up until maybe 3 to 4 months ago, I would have sworn we were rock solid. Not perfect, but happy. We had little routines, inside jokes, lazy Sundays, dumb arguments about takeout, normal stuff. But then things started to change. Slowly at first, like he didn't want me to notice. He started coming home later. Not crazy late, just enough to say, traffic was a mess, or we had a late meeting. And at first I believed it. I mean, why wouldn't I? But then the excuses became automatic, like he had them preloaded. Like he was ready for me to ask. He also got weird about his phone. This man used to leave his phone all over the place. Kitchen counter, nightstand, even the bathroom sometimes. Now, that thing might as well be glued to his hand. I'd walk into a room and he'd flip it over real quick. Or if it buzzed, he'd suddenly get work emails he just had to check in private. And then there was the showering before bed thing. He never used to do that. He was always a morning shower guy. But now, without fail, he hops in the shower the second he gets home, even if he's dead tired. Says it's to wash the day off. But it feels more like washing someone off. At first I tried to talk myself out of it. Told myself I was being paranoid, maybe even insecure. But my gut wouldn't shut up. And here's the thing, I trust my gut more than I trust anyone. It saved me before. So one night I asked him, real casual like, what he had planned for the weekend. He shrugged, said he was probably just gonna relax. I asked if he wanted to go out for dinner or maybe hit the beach like we used to. He said he'd think about it, but didn't look excited at all. That's when I knew. Whatever this was, it wasn't just in my head. He was detached. Not angry. Not distracted. Detached. And that's somehow worse. That night, as I lay in bed next to him pretending to scroll on my phone, my brain was going 100 miles per hour. I kept wondering, who is she? How long has this been going on? But most of all, what does he do when I'm not here? That's when the idea hit me, like a movie scene. What if I pretended to leave town? Just a little test. Nothing crazy. A fake business trip. 3 days. Just enough to see what he does when he thinks I'm not around. I'm not proud of it. I'm not even the sneaky type. But something deep inside me needed the truth. I didn't want to start a fight with no proof. I didn't want to confront him just to be gaslit into thinking I was being emotional. So I started planning. And let me tell you, when a woman's heart is broken, but she still wants answers, her mind becomes dangerous. So the next morning, I start setting my little operation in motion. First thing I do? I text my coworker Emma, bless her soul, and tell her everything. She's one of the only people I trust with my life. I ask if I can borrow her car for the weekend and crash at her place for a bit. She says yes without even blinking. Honestly, I think she was more excited than I was. Said she always wanted to be part of some Lifetime movie *T. Next, I craft the perfect excuse, a marketing conference in Tampa. I work in digital advertising, so it's a believable cover. I even mock up a fake itinerary and forward myself a confirmation email from a made-up company domain. Thank you, free email generator sites. I printed the whole thing out and left it in plain view. If he decided to peek, it would all look legit. I packed a suitcase with enough clothes to sell the lie, but nothing I'd actually miss. Threw in a curling iron, some makeup, a couple wrinkled blazers. Nothing special. Just conference woman on the go energy. On Friday morning, I kissed him goodbye at 8 a.m. sharp. He was sipping coffee, barely looked up from his phone. Just said, "Have fun, babe. Text me when you land." I smiled, got in Emma's car, and drove exactly 3 blocks away. Then I parked. And waited. This was probably the weirdest moment of my life. Sitting in someone else's car, watching my own house like a stalker, heart pounding like I'd just robbed a bank. My hands were shaking. I had no idea what I was expecting to happen, but my instincts were screaming at me. Don't leave. Watch. And oh boy, I didn't have to wait long. 20 freaking minutes. That's all it took. A car pulls up. Some gray little Honda Civic. Music blaring. I don't recognize it, but it's definitely not someone from our street. Then she steps out. She's young. Like, definitely younger than me. Maybe mid-20s? Wavy brown hair, tight jeans, oversized sweatshirt. She's holding a Starbucks cup and walking up to my house like she owns the place. And the worst part? She uses her own key. I swear to God, my heart dropped into my stomach so hard I almost threw up. She didn't knock. She didn't call. She didn't even hesitate. Just walked up and let herself in like this was her weekend getaway spot. I pulled my phone out so fast I almost dropped it, took a photo of the license plate, then zoomed in and snapped a shot of her face through the window. Just in case. Just in case I ended up needing it later. My hands were sweating. I felt frozen. I wanted to charge in and scream. But I didn't. Because I needed to see this through. I needed the whole picture. So I waited. I sat there for hours, watching lights go on and off. Watching shadows move in the living room. At one point, I could see them on the couch. Her legs stretched out across his lap. His hand on her thigh. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but it didn't matter. I already knew. At around 7 p.m., I watched him carry 2 wine glasses into the living room and sit down next to her. She curled up under a blanket, our blanket, and he wrapped his arm around her like it was the most normal thing in the world. That was the moment it hit me. This isn't some random one-night stand. This isn't a mistake. This is something that's been happening for a while. It wasn't just betrayal. It was routine. And it shattered something inside me. But I didn't cry. Not yet. I just sat there, in the dark, breathing slow, making a plan. Because now I had what I needed. And I wasn't done. It was sometime after midnight when I finally moved. I had been sitting in that borrowed car for hours, barely blinking. Watching my house light up and dim like I wasn't even real anymore. Like they were living some cozy rom-com fantasy in the same space where I folded his laundry, made soup when he was sick, where we hung our first Christmas ornaments. I had cycled through every emotion, rage, heartbreak, nausea, and landed in this weirdly calm place. Like something inside me froze over just to keep me functioning. So I made a decision. A bold, probably reckless decision. I was going in. Not to confront. Not yet. I didn't want a scene. I wanted information. Evidence. I wanted to see with my own eyes what my marriage had turned into behind my back. I took off my shoes, grabbed the little flashlight on my keychain, and walked around the side of the house, heart pounding so loud it felt like a drumline in my chest. We have a back door that sticks unless you push it a certain way. He always forgets to lock it. And tonight? Lucky me. It was unlocked. I crept inside as silently as I could. The kitchen was dark. I could hear the low hum of the TV in the living room and occasional bursts of laughter. Hers. His. Together. I wanted to vomit. I tiptoed down the hallway, stopping just before the corner where it opens into the living room. I could see a sliver of the screen. They were watching a movie. Something dumb and romantic. They were curled up on the couch. Our couch. She had her feet tucked under her, wearing one of his hoodies, the one I always steal when I'm cold. He had his arm lazily around her shoulders, like they'd done this 100 times. There were 2 empty wine glasses on the coffee table. And pizza. Of course he ordered pizza. He never cooks when I'm not around. I stood there, invisible, just watching. And in that moment, I wasn't angry. I wasn't even heartbroken. I was done. Done begging for attention. Done playing the cool wife who lets things slide. Done wondering if I was just imagining things. I pulled out my phone, turned off the flash, snapped a few photos. His hand in her hair. Her head on his chest. Their wine glasses. His smile. That smile he used to save for me. Click. 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 I backed up slowly, slipped out the back door, and walked away from my own house like it wasn't even mine anymore. Got back into Emma's car, locked the doors, and finally let myself cry. Quiet sobs. The kind that come from somewhere deeper than your chest, like your soul is leaking. But even in that moment, I knew one thing. This wasn't going to break me. I wasn't going to beg, or scream, or give him any more of my heart than he already destroyed. No, I was going to be smart. So I drove to Emma's, wiped my face clean, and started writing down everything I saw. Every timestamp, every detail, every plan. Because the next part? It wasn't about catching him anymore. It was about beating him. The next morning, I woke up in Emma's guest room with a headache from hell and a heart that felt like it had been dropped off a building. But I didn't waste time. I poured myself some terrible instant coffee and opened my laptop. Not to cry about it. Not to vent. No, to call a lawyer. Let me tell you something. You know who gives the best divorce advice? The lawyer you hire before they even know you're coming. I picked one that specializes in infidelity and high-asset cases. No, we're not millionaires or anything, but I wasn't about to let this man cheat on me and walk away with half my stuff. When I told the lawyer what happened, she was calm and cool as hell. She said, "You've already done more than most people in your situation. But unless you catch them doing something physical, this'll be a he said she said situation." I blinked. So him cuddling with her, drinking wine, and her using a key. That's not enough. She shrugged. It's suspicious. It's emotional betrayal for sure, but legally, it's not solid. You need undeniable evidence. That's when I decided to go full-on detective. I went back to my house the next morning while he was at work. He thought I was still in Tampa, remember? I had hours to myself. I grabbed a few essentials, packed up some personal files, and more importantly, I planted something. A tiny little hidden cam in the living room, disguised in a digital photo frame. Wi-Fi enabled. Motion detection. The works. Shout out to Amazon overnight shipping and Emma's cousin who works in security. I tested the angle, made sure it covered the couch perfectly, and synced it to a private cloud. Everything it captured? Uploaded instantly. Couldn't be deleted. Couldn't be touched. And then I cleaned. Vacuumed. Folded a blanket. Lit a damn candle. I made everything look so normal he wouldn't suspect a thing. After that, I texted him. Landed safe. Long day. Might crash early. Hope everything's okay back home. Love you, Redheart. He responded a few minutes later. Glad you made it. Everything's good here. Just chilling. Love you too, face-blowing kiss. And that was the moment I knew for sure. He was going to bring her back. Again. Same weekend. Same setup. And this time, I was going to catch it all. I went back to Emma's, pulled up the camera app, and waited. Didn't even blink. Sure enough, that night, Saturday, around 8:15 p.m., I got the notification. Motion detected in living room. I opened the stream, and there she was. Same girl. Same hoodie. Same smug little smirk. He came in with a bottle of wine. Sat down next to her. Put on a movie. She curled up under the blanket. He kissed her forehead. And then right there, right on my damn couch, he leaned in and kissed her for real. No hesitation. No oops. Just full-on, romantic, slow-motion kiss. I watched it live. And then I saved the video. I backed it up to 3 different drives, emailed it to my lawyer, and uploaded it to a hidden Google folder labeled Insurance. I didn't cry this time. I just smiled. Because now it was checkmate. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was sad. Not anymore. I wasn't even angry. I was ready. Sunday morning, I packed up my things from Emma's place, grabbed my laptop, and drove back home. Not in a rush. I even stopped for coffee and a muffin on the way. I wanted to be fresh, calm, and collected. He thought I was coming back Monday afternoon. Instead, I pulled into our driveway Sunday at 9 a.m. sharp. The moment I walked in, I was hit by the scent of wine and cheap perfume. That sweet, fruity kind teenage girls wear. My stomach turned, but I kept my face neutral. The house was quiet. He wasn't home, probably dropped her off already. The wine glasses were in the sink. There was a long, brown hair on the couch pillow. The blanket still half folded from last night's little Netflix and party. I smiled, because I had the footage. Everything I needed. I didn't say a word to him that day. Just acted tired, like I'd had a long trip. He didn't even question it. Just gave me a kiss on the cheek and asked if I wanted pancakes. Pancakes. This man really thought he could flip some batter and flip the script on our entire marriage. So I waited. Let Monday roll in. Let him get dressed, pack his work bag, kiss me goodbye like nothing was wrong. And then I sat down at the kitchen table, opened my laptop, and hit play. Watched the whole thing again. Her laugh. His kiss. His hand on her thigh. I didn't flinch. Didn't cry. Just took notes like I was reviewing security footage at work. That night, after dinner, I told him we needed to talk. He looked confused. Nervous, even. Sat down across from me. And then I turned the laptop around. Pressed play. Watched his whole face change. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. His skin went pale like he'd seen a ghost. I didn't speak until the video ended. Then I said, "Don't bother lying." I watched it happen live. I have it saved, backed up, and already sent to my lawyer. We're done. Silence. His first response? Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "Let me explain." He said, "How did you?" I stood up. "Doesn't matter. Pack your things." He begged. Swore it didn't mean anything, said it only happened a couple times. I laughed in his face. "A couple times? You gave her a key." He tried to say we could fix it, that couples therapy might help. I told him I already had a therapist and a lawyer, and he wasn't invited to either. Then I handed him an envelope with divorce papers already drafted. Shout out to my badass lawyer. He stared at them like they were a bomb. "You really planned all this?" I looked him straight in the eye and said, "You planned to betray me. I planned to survive it." And then I walked upstairs, shut the door, and let him sit in the mess he made. The week after I served him the papers was a blur. He moved into a friend's apartment for a few days to think. I told him not to rush. Take all the time he needed. Like, maybe forever. The thing is, I didn't just spend the weekend collecting evidence. While he was cozying up with Miss Frappuccino, I was doing a full audit of our lives. Bank accounts, credit cards, subscriptions, shared files, joint assets. And guess what? Turns out he was hiding more than just a side chick. 2 months ago, he drained half our savings to buy a business investment that I never signed off on. Want to know what it was? Crypto mining rigs. In her brother's garage. I kid you not. He was literally giving her family our money. I had receipts, emails, bank transfers, even a contract with a fake signature that was supposed to be mine. So, when I handed everything to my lawyer, she smiled and said, "Good. We're not just divorcing him. We're burying him." Fast forward to a month later, he's standing in court, trying to argue that the marriage fell apart suddenly. Meanwhile, I've got a file full of photos, time-stamped video, financial fraud, and texts from his little girlfriend asking if he thinks the wife suspects anything. She spelled suspects wrong. Twice. Needless to say, the judge didn't buy his sad puppy routine. I got the house. I got the car. I got every last cent he tried to hide. Oh, and the cherry on top? I mailed her the wine glasses. Cleaned. Boxed. Gift wrapped. No note. Just a little something to remember her role in all of this. It's been 4 months now. I sleep better than I have in years. My house is peaceful. My fridge is stocked with wine I don't have to share. My Netflix account is mine again. And me? I'm not broken. I'm not bitter. I'm better. People always say, if you go looking for trouble, you'll find it. Well, I faked a business trip, and I found the truth. And honestly, that trip was the best one I've ever taken.